Hello, everyone. We want to welcome you to our session today with ChargeLogic, More Sales, More Places. Joining us from ChargeLogic is Deb Adler, and we're excited to have such a fantastic turnout today. Before I pass it over to Deb, I would like to let you know that we are recording this session, and it will be posted to our on-demand webinar library for you to review and share with anyone. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to type them into the questions box. We will get them answered during our Q&A time at the end of our session. And so now I'm going to pass it on to Deb to kick off our presentation.
Great, thank you so much, Angie. I appreciate it. And thank you to everyone for attending our session today and allowing us to present our solutions and see how we might be able to help your business. As Angie said, my name's Deb Adler. I am the Senior Partner Channel Manager here, and we've worked with the Innovia team for probably at least the last decade. We've had a very strong relationship and really enjoy a true partnership with them. So that's very important for us because we don't sell our solutions directly. We always do sell through our partners, and we feel they are the best equipped to know your business and your whole requirement. A little background about ChargeLogic. We have been providing secure payment processing in the Microsoft Dynamics space since about 2005. And our focus has started out in the Microsoft Dynamics NAV space. And of course, most recently, we have moved into the Business Central environment as well. So everything we're going to look at today is available for you in NAV and in Business Central, regardless of which platform you're working on. Our value proposition, really, as our title says, is it allows you to accept payments securely from any of your sales channels. And we're going to dig into that just a little bit with a handful of slides and then show you some examples of accepting payments through your different sales channels and then how those get automatically applied in your database with lots of great historical data anytime you need to do any type of research. So to get us started here, as I mentioned, we do have all of our functionality available for Dynamics NAV and Business Central. All of our apps are available on AppSource, and we're one of the original adopters, one of the first companies to have that availability. So we've had a good couple of years to really solidify our solutions. Today, we're going to focus on the three main solutions that you see here. ChargeLogic Payments is the prerequisite and really core product that we offer. And then built on top of that, we have a retail solution, and we also have a ChargeLogic Connect service that allows you to accept payments outside of your database, but have those come in and automatically get applied correctly. So we'll take a look at some of those options as well. As far as the value of ChargeLogic, security, of course, is number one. We are what's called a PCI validated payment application. So that's not saying that we're just compliant. PCI, or the payment card industry, has specific data security standards. And in order to achieve validation, it's kind of what we call the good housekeeping seal of approval for payment processing. You have to undergo stringent audits of our code just to make sure we're always staying most current on all the security features and protecting your business and your customers' data. The omnichannel piece, that just means that we can support payment processing through any of your sales channels. So even if, for example, maybe you don't have an e-commerce site yet, you're just taking mail order or phone order, but you're thinking about adding that in the future, we give you that ability to grow your business still using all the same solutions. We offer a tokenization option, which means instead of storing encrypted card numbers in your database, you can actually store these random tokens that represent the card number, and your users will still see the last four of the actual card number. But if anybody ever were to get into your network, these random tokens are useless. So we actually have a merchant where that did occur, and nobody was able to get any cardholder data. So it is definitely a great way to protect yourselves and your customers. Because we've been in this space for a long time, we definitely are able to help you and your partners find the best solution. We're never about trying to sell you a solution that's not going to be a good fit or meet your business requirements. So we always rely on your partners working with you to gather those requirements and make sure that we're showing you solutions to meet your needs. Today, our goal will be to just kind of give you a high-level view of the different products that we have available, the different solutions, and see, I always like to tell people, instead of focusing on, which product it is we're looking at, just kind of try to pay attention more to the different features that we're looking at, which ones might be good for your business, and with your partner together, we'll come up with the best combination of solutions. So we say we take payments from all sales channels, and that would include if people are calling in orders or mailing them in or emailing them into you, if you have a call center or your customer service team. If you have physical brick and mortar retail locations where customers are coming in and physically handing you a credit card, we can support that as well. And if you do have an e-commerce site, we also are able to allow you to take orders online and have that information flow right into your database and create orders that look just like somebody sat there and typed them in. All your payments get processed using the same software, the same workflow that's completely integrated with your ERP system, be it NAB or Business Central. And those payments will flow through, get applied to clear the customer ledger entries, and then under each customer or sales document, you'll always have that payment history available in your database anytime you need it. Even if you're at a trade show or a conference and you want to be able to take payments, as long as you can access your NAV database, you can do that, or your Business Central database. As far as e-commerce goes, we do have an open API that your web developers can write to, and there are different pieces of it that you can choose to use. And I have a list here of some commonly known web development companies that are in the Microsoft Dynamics space that have already written to our API. So what that means is that they can use our solution to securely take payments on your website. And there are some different options of how they write to it that will impact what your customer experience is. There's a little screenshot here where we are actually collecting the payment details on this. This is a real website that the customer has authorized us to show an example of. And where we are coming in here is when we're collecting the payment details. Everything else is being controlled by the website. So this allows you to take payments outside of your ERP system. We'll hold that information on a secure cloud-based service, and then that will come in when your database is ready. And we'll see an example of that as we get into the software here just shortly. We do have a retail solution that's also built inside of your NAV or Business Central called ChargeLogic Retail Express. And it is a customizable point of sale interface that you can have all kinds of options available, but because it is built right inside of your database, you have access to see all your customers, see all your items. When it's doing an item lookup, it's just looking on your inventory list. You can, view availability, for example. So if maybe you don't have it at this location, maybe you want to see if there's items available at another location. It's just using your database inventory information, and it does update inventory in real time. So it's a very nice way to have this fully integrated system. Also, when you're doing customer lookups, if you are doing sales to known customers, it's just looking up in your customer list. If you've got customer-specific pricing, it's going to honor that as well. So it really is sort of accessing your database through a point of sale interface, and that just allows you to have up-to-the-minute information. You can collect payments, with any different tender type. And you'll notice here there's a little button. This is, again, can be customized as you need it, but you can also take payments on account. So if you have customers on terms that you're, or maybe invoicing them monthly, you can also charge an item that they're purchasing to their account, which will create a sales invoice that can later be collected upon. I have a few more slides on the point of sale. I'm not sure that we'll get to going through the point of sale demonstration, but we're always happy to follow up with you separately if you want to see that in more detail. We do support the EMV, chip-ready card readers. We have the variety of device options. We offer what's called point-to-point encryption, and that really also helps secure your customers' data because it's being encrypted on the pin pad before it even leaves your network. And we even have this small light pin pad sample on the right, the ISMP4, which is a wireless device. So if you do have a location where people might need to walk around, or you want the ability to be mobile, maybe walking through the aisles with your customer, you can use that type of pin pad as well. So anytime you are accepting credit card payments, you do need what's called a merchant account with a payment processor or payment gateway. And ChargeLogic Merchant Services is able to provide those services to you so that it's really one-stop shopping. We are partnered as a sister company with a company called SoluPay, and they have been processing since 2004. As you can see, some of the statistics here, processing billions of dollars annually in credit card transactions. And the nice thing about it is now it's like one stop, a holistic approach where it's the software and the processor all being managed by one organization. And that makes it the visibility, and if you have questions, there's just one number to call. And I have a list here, which again, we're always happy to talk with customers individually in more detail. But some of the benefits of working with us, with our SoluPay sister company, it is a turnkey solution. So that means they know what software you have. Of course, they know about all of our software. So it's really makes it very easy for your partners to implement. It's easy for you to get signed up with a merchant account. Because we are all part of the same company, instead of going through a third party where you normally would, or maybe you'd go to your bank to get a merchant account, you can really save significant dollars by all the features that they offer. And being in-house, we're able to offer even better rates. Next day funding is standard. There are very few exceptions there. The tokenization is supported, and that helps you as a business with your overall PCI compliance requirements. There are various enhanced security options. We do have the integrated pin pads. One great thing is that when you get your merchant account with them, you do get a dedicated relationship manager. You will have a specific person with their phone number, direct line, that will serve as really your primary point of contact. And that would be when you have questions about your merchant account, or a batch didn't settle, or a transaction. If there's a chargeback, there's a special team that will help you to fight a chargeback and help you fill out the correct paperwork, make sure that's all in order. And they'll also keep an eye on your account to make sure that you're not having a lot of transactions downgrading where you're paying higher fees, and reach out and stay in touch with you to proactively let you know maybe there's some settings in the software your partner can make to help lower your fees. So that is really, to us, it's an ideal scenario where we're able to provide all these services in-house with one contact person for you, so that really payment processing isn't something you have to focus on. We'll take care of the hard stuff, and you just have to worry about getting paid. As our PCI validation requires, we have all of the latest in security requirements, but we're also, with our new relationship with SoluPay, we're able to even take that a little further. There are now services that are going to be available coming soon. One is a credit card account updating service, where there's actually a service that will take a look at expired credit cards, and if your customer has a new expiration date, it can backport that updated expiration dates into your database. If there's a card that was reported lost or stolen, it can provide those updated information pieces. So there's just a lot of things that can help reduce any disruptions to your business and just make payment processing a much smoother operation. Another feature that's coming up is this email request, where, so let's say you have a customer on the phone, and maybe they don't want to give you their credit card number, or maybe you're recording your calls and so you don't want to take their their credit card number because that's now going to be recorded somewhere. We are working on a feature that would allow you to, while you have your customer on the phone or letting your customers know, that you can send them a link where they'll be able to update their own card details and have that come back into your database automatically. You can use it to update expiring credit cards. So it's actually going to be a really nice feature that we get requests from call centers, especially, that your employees then don't have to even touch credit card numbers at all. Another device that we use for that feature is called a ThreadKey, and this allows you to securely record cardholder data. Instead of typing it into your computers where it is touching your network, it actually goes onto this little 10-key device that encrypts the information before it goes out over your network. So even when people are calling in, you can further reduce your scope of PCI compliance by not having your network touching cardholder data. All right, so that's enough of slides. We're going to get into our software demo now and kind of take a look and see how all of this works. So we're looking here at my role center for, this is Business Central, or a web version of Nav. All the features are available regardless of which ERP system that you are using. And we'll start with taking a quick look at a customer card here. By customer, we have, let's see, I'm going to pick the Cannon Group. So by customer, you actually can store a list of credit card numbers on file, checking accounts on file. If you use gift cards, you can use those with our software as well. You can store as many card numbers as you'd like to against customers or contacts. And as you'll see here, this first column is called default. You actually can, if you have customers who just want you to use a card on file, you can set a credit card as the default card number. The same with a checking account if you want to do direct debit to an ACH. And with a payment method of credit card and a default card on file, every time you process an order or post an invoice for somebody, it's going to charge their card automatically. We'll see as we go through the demo that you don't have to do that. You don't have to use the default card, but it is a nice shortcut. You also have the ability for each customer to go to a list of all the electronic payment transactions that have ever been processed. So you can see here, I've got some cash payments, check payments, credit card transactions. And as I look through here, I've got my dates and my dollar amounts. I can see what the last four of the card number was. So anytime a customer has a question, it will also tell me the associated sales document number. If they have a question about a charge on their card, it's very easy to do that research. So I'm going to go ahead and start with just processing a sales order for that customer, the Cannon Group that we just looked at. And as soon as I put their name in here, if I scroll down to the bottom and I look at my payments tab, you can see at the bottom here that the default card automatically came in. I haven't done anything but opened an order for this customer yet. I don't have to use the default card. I can do a lookup and I could pick another card on file, or it's an editable field. I could also put in a brand new card number. So it's just kind of, helps reduce on data entry errors. And if you're automating your process of invoice posting, for example, it also just makes it so you don't have to stop and get a card number in. I have some automation set here where I release an order. Let me pull this up here on the right-hand side. Another thing to mention is we have this payment totals fact box, which allows you to look at any sales document at a glance and see whether or not any payments have been processed. So I have an optional setting that says if I have a card number on here and I release the order, go ahead and get me an authorization automatically. I can also prevent it. Let's say I want to release it to a warehouse. I can use it in conjunction with payment terms that are native to Nav or Business Central, that says if the card declines, don't let the order release, and your user would get a message. So it's a way to sort of automate the workflow, but also don't let things get out the door that haven't been paid for. When I'm ready, see, I also can post my invoice. I'm here, I'm just going to post my ship and invoice. I have another optional setting that says to automatically settle the card once I have an authorization. So if I open that posted invoice up, and I can now see my settlement is here, and I can navigate and see a list of my credit card transactions. I've got my authorization and my settlement here. And again, it's always going to link it back to that invoice number. It's going to show on the customer's account as well, but also if I look at an individual document. Let's go to a posted sales invoice. So maybe you've sent something out on account and somebody calls and they want to make a payment. So let's see, I did set one up prior to today's session. So 10301. So I open up a posted invoice. Again, using that fact box on the right, I can see that there's been no payment applied to this order yet. So if I come and do a credit card transaction, I'm going to authorize the card. When I do an authorization, that is putting a hold on the customer's funds. That is guaranteeing those funds for you for usually about 3 business days, and that varies a little bit by credit card company. You'll see that as I tab through, it knows the amount of the invoice. I could split this up, if I want to put this on multiple credit cards, or maybe a gift card and a credit card, or some cash and some credit, or any combination. You can split it up as many ways as you need to. I don't have a default card on file for this customer, but if I do a lookup, I do see I do have a credit card on file. I could use that. Or in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and type in a new card number. So as soon as I leave that field, the only thing your users will see from that point forward are the last 4 of the actual card number. Put in the expiration. Now, I also have an optional setting that most people use that says if I'm putting a payment on a posted invoice, I just want to charge the card. I've already shipped my product or delivered my service. So when I hit submit my authorization, it's going to authorize and settle. And if I look back on that right-hand side on my fact box, I can see the card has now been charged. I'm going to do one other kind. We have what's called, and this is another example of accepting a payment outside of the database. We have a feature called Click to Pay Invoicing. This can be set up for specific customers that every time you post an invoice for them, maybe they're on terms, it's going to email them an invoice with a link to pay online. This is a setting you can do at the customer card level. You can set an electronic invoice type, or maybe just one-off on a particular invoice. And you can do this on orders or invoices. And we also have a couple of different options, which I will demonstrate to you, of how they can get that email. So I'm gonna go ahead and sell another bicycle here. We do sell a lot of those. And I'll just make it a different dollar amount. So you can see here the amount of the bike is $1,500. And you have the ability as well to, using one of an email notification software, you do have the ability to email the customer, email multiple customers. By default, we're going to send it to the main contact on the customer card. But you also have the ability for us to suggest any email addresses associated with this customer. And if you look over on the far right, it tells you where it's linked. It could be a customer, it could be a contact, maybe a salesperson. And you can, on the individual contact cards, set people up to either always get sent a quote, order confirmation, shipment notification, or invoice, copied, blind copy. Sometimes when I'm doing collections, I might add myself as a blind copy. And what that does is it creates an email log. So I'm going to just go ahead and post this invoice. And If I open that posted invoice, so for starters, I look on the right-hand side, I can see there's been no payment. But what I was talking about, the email log, I now have a record that the invoice was sent, and I can see who it was sent to. So I see it went to this one customer. I can always resend it to anybody else if they say they didn't get it, for example. And if there was a problem sending the email, I'd have an error message here, so I would know that it didn't go out successfully. So this was invoice 103303. So I'm going to switch hats now to be your customer. And if I come to their email, the invoice has already arrived. And this is not the actual invoice from your database. This is a customizable email template using a little HTML. You can completely customize this with your logo and company name and whatever text you want, change the colors, remove these bars. So we're actually just pulling the details from the invoice. And you can see that it's got all the standard information that ship to, bill to would have, but the most important piece is the click to pay online button. If a customer wants to make a payment, they would click this button. Depending on how they access this, I'll show you there are a couple different options. Whether they put the amount in is really just kind of sort of like a CAPTCHA to make sure it's the right person getting it. Again, of course, you can pick your logo, your color. It's pulling the invoice details, but the key piece is it comes down here and allows them the ability to make a payment online. Now, using this as an individual click-to-pay invoice, they would have to enter their payment details each time. The next thing we're going to look at is our customer payment portal, which allows them to pay multiple click-to-pay invoices. So I also have the option here, if you wanted to accept credit cards and electronic checks, for example, I can give them the option to pay by credit card or check. If I switched it to check, it's going to change the fields where they would type in their routing number and account number. In this case, I'll just go ahead and do our demo today as credit card. Now, it is taking my saved information, but that's only because this is a demo environment. They would normally have to type it, or unless their system has cached that information. So they would type in their credit card number, December 2030, and pay invoice. So this is going to pass through our service. It's going to go out to your processor, get the authorization, and once it's approved, your customer will have this record to print for their records. There will also be a record at the bottom of that document to show the card number they used, the date, and the dollar amount, and it does reflect that the total amount due is 0. Because every invoice does get a unique URL assigned to it, if they click that button again, it's just going to take them back to their receipt. So they can't pay an invoice twice. Two nice things happen once a customer clicks to pay online. One is that they also will receive an email, which let's see if it's come in here. There are a couple of different versions of those emails that can go out. So just as another look of that same invoice before I made the payment. And then when they do make a payment, they'll also get an acknowledgement email. Thank you for your payment. And you can see at the bottom, the balance is 0. You'll see here where it says view this invoice or view all invoices. If you are also using our customer payment portal that we're going to see next, they can access their portal account right from this email. In addition to the customer getting the email, we are also going to email you to let you know that your customer, Progressive Home, has made a payment in the amount of $1,500 for invoice X. And that way, you don't have to wait and see who's making the payment. You actually will be able to get notified. And if you're waiting for a payment, you'll know that that payment has come in. So switching hats and coming back into your database, you're normally going to set up a scheduling tool that comes, with the Microsoft products to check our cloud-based servers to see if there are any new payments that we're holding. So they don't automatically just come in, but they will be held on our site until you reach out to get them. And that's normally set up on a scheduler where you could ask every hour, every 10 minutes, once every 5 minutes, once a day. But you can also manually do a retrieval. So I'm going to retrieve that, and then I'm going to go back to that posted sales invoice, which was this 103,303. And if I look over on the right-hand side, now I can see that payment has come in and attached to the correct invoice. And I also can navigate to the list of transactions where I can see the card number that I used. Was that MasterCard ending in 5454 with the expiration of December 2030. And it's going to show the date, the dollar amount, the card that was used, and the invoice against it. So it behaves just as if somebody called you up on the phone to make a payment. So let's go to the next level here and see what this payment portal is all about. Now, this is an ability to have a branded payment portal, and I'll actually show you what the branded portal looks like next, but you get the ability to choose, I think it's 2 colors. You can have your logo, of course, your business name would be here. Just as a little example, this is an example of what a branded payment portal might look like for this company, A Datum Corporation. And if you notice the URL at the top, you also can have the ability to have a branded URL that doesn't show our name anywhere, but rather just your business name. So in this case, this is my ChargeLogic payment portal, and what happens is from Nav or Business Central, you have the ability to invite a customer. So let's say, you've got Progressive Home as your customer. From the customer card, you can send an invitation to the accounting person at Progressive Home, and then they would set up their own username and password. And when they log in, they're going to be able to see all of their open invoices, all of their paid invoices, and they can store payment details. One thing to keep in mind, it is only showing the invoices that were originally created as click to pay invoices. So it's not exposing all the customer ledger entries, just so that that part is clear. But it will show me the open invoices and the closed invoices. And just to kind of show you that, the invoice that I just paid, that 103,303, is already showing under the closed invoices. So this is, updated in real time. And you can see here it's reflecting the payment, the amount due is 0, and that's kind of a nice way the customer can also print or download that invoice. If I come back to view my invoices, you also do have the ability for your open invoices. Customers can click to pay multiple invoices at once. You can make partial payments here. I see it looks like we paid $1,000. There's still a balance of $3,000. And then under their profile, they'll have the ability to set up some default payment details. So credit cards, again, they can create a new account. This is probably similar to, maybe kind of what you have like on an Amazon or something, where I've got my credit card already set up here. I could set this as the default card so that every time I go on the portal to make a payment, it's just going to use it. Or I can create a new one. These cards can be saved in advance, but they won't come into your database until they're used to pay an invoice. The same with their bank account information. They can store checking account as well, and then make that their default or use that as their payment information. They can change their password. Maybe somebody leaves the company. Also from Nav, you can go in and remove access to anybody that you've invited in. Once a customer wants to make some payments, I'll come back to view the open invoices here. You can, as I said, you can just click whichever invoices, pay some amount here. I would just pick my credit card that I have on file, and it's going to just use that, or I could type in a new one. And then the same thing happens where it's going to be held on our cloud server. Didn't like my payment, so I don't know if I had the card number typed in wrong, but it would hold that up on the server. And then when your scheduling tool pulls any new payments, it's going to set the applies to ID behind the scenes and then automatically apply those payments once you post cash receipts. So one last thing to show you today is going to be the ability to accept payments on e-commerce. And as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm not going to show our retail solution today in the interest of time, but we are always happy to do a one-on-one demo for you or work with your partner to get a demo scheduled for you. So this is a demonstration website that we have created, and I already loaded up my cart because our solution doesn't come in until the payment portion. So in my shopping cart, and this is just a generic demo data website, I've got 2 pop sockets here, and a couple of different options are available as far as making a payment available to your customer. This particular one is kind of like the slide I showed you, where the only piece on this website is going to be the piece where you put in your credit card information. So the customer would come here, put in their payment details, and in fact, using an embedded iframe, we're actually collecting that payment information behind the scenes. And to your customer, it seems like they're just entering it on your website, but in fact, we are collecting it securely. And this, by doing something like this, your website actually gets removed from the scope of PCI compliance because you're not touching credit card numbers. Alternatively, there is an option where when it comes to putting in their payment details, they can be redirected to a hosted payment page on our server, put in their details, and then have it bounce right back to the website once we get the authorization approved. So in this case, I'm going to, let's make that MasterCard. I'm gonna put in a card number here. And expiration January 25, put in the CVV number. And when I place my order, the same thing happens. It goes out through our cloud service out to your payment processor to get the approval. And apparently I can't talk and type at the same time, so let's try that one more time. Expiration, place my order. Once we get the authorization, we are now holding the order details and the payment details on our cloud service, and it's going to sit there until your database is ready. So if you've had to restart a service tier or do anything in your database, maybe you're running a lot of reports, you can actually just wait until the system is ready and then call out. So my order's been placed. If I switch hats now and come back into my database, whoopsie. I'm going to manually trigger retrieving any payments or orders. And again, if you're using one of those e-commerce providers or you have some other process to import the order details, you can just use our service to collect the payment securely. In my demo database, I'm actually creating a sales order that will look just like somebody sat at their desk and typed it in, and the payment will be attached. So if I come over to my sales orders list, oops, not my ready to ship, I want and let's get that sorted by document date. So I want the newest on top. And this was under my account on the website. So now I have a sales order here. It's got today's date on it. I've got my 2 pop sockets, and I've got my authorization that has come in. If you see on the right-hand side, it came in $30. It has linked the authorization along with the card details to this order. So as I said, it looks just like somebody, called in and placed an order. So now this is ready to go ahead and post, ship an invoice, and we're good to go. I open that posted invoice here, and I can see now it's moved down to my net amount to settle. So you might have noticed that instead of net amount settled, which is when I'm charging the card, it's saying net amount to settle. That's because with the type of payment processor we're using, it creates what's called a settlement batch. And what that allows you to do is all the transactions for the day are accumulating inside of your database. So the authorizations go out in real time. They are holding those funds for you, but the settlement actually happens at the end of the day where all these cards are going to get charged. The nice thing about that is, you know, let's say somebody called during the day and said my card got stolen or cancel my order. I don't have to log into any external web portal at the processor. I can come right to my batch and I can actually void the transaction. Maybe my warehouse says, we thought we had one in stock, but it's damaged. It's going to be another day before I get it. I could take it out of the batch for today, and then I could suggest it back in tomorrow. So you have a lot more control without ever having to leave your network or your database and go to some outside service. At the end of the day, this also can be automated where you would close and submit the batch. And this is us telling the processor we want to process those transactions today. We will automatically populate a cash receipts journal. And well, I've got a lot of stuff in here now that I probably don't want. So let's go by posting date. I think I had some other batch items in here. But what we've done, if you look over on the right-hand side, is you can see that we've set all the posting dates, excuse me, all the applies to document numbers. So I'm actually gonna come here and just delete, let's see, I guess it'll let me delete this. Well, we'll see what happens. Might not let me post this, but I'll give it a try. So if we just looked at the invoices with today's date that we just processed, I can see that on the right-hand side, all my applies to document numbers have been preset. So I know that when I post my cash receipts, it's going to clear those entries. And then there's some optional ways you can set it up. I've got a clearing account set up here so that I will have a summary line by card type. So this first line you can see when I hover, it's MasterCard, total of all my MasterCards. This is the total of all my Visas. And that way, when it hits your GL accounts, you'll be able to have it kind of marry up to the way your credit card statements come, which is usually separated by card type and by date. I'm going to attempt to post this, but I'm pretty sure it's going to bark at me, in which case I will, yeah, so it doesn't like that I'm out of balance here. So I don't, let's see if I can delete these. Yeah, I won't bother doing that at this moment just because I don't want to keep us all waiting. Let's see if I, actually I can. No. So if I posted these all through here, again, once you see the applies to document numbers on your cash receipts journal, it's going to automatically clear that customer ledger entry. So really that's pretty much all I would show at a high level overview of our solutions. Hopefully this just gives you a little bit of an idea, other than I apologize for that one blip at the end there. If you get an idea that you can process those payments through any sales channel and have them all flow right through to your customers. I think, Angie, that about wraps it up for what I have to show. If there are any questions, I would be happy to answer those.
All right, Deb, thank you very much. Yes, we do have a few questions that came through. The first one is, where is the credit card information stored and what security is used?
Great question, thank you. So where it's stored is setup driven. So let's take a little sneak peek here behind the scenes. And part of setting up the software, there is a field called the data protection type. And you have some different options here. And so you can store encrypted credit card numbers in your database. That is PCI compliant, but it does increase your scope of PCI compliance. It means that you do have to protect yourself a little bit more and probably answer more questions on your annual PCI compliance audits because you are storing encrypted cardholder data in your database. What we recommend is tokenization. That means you're not storing cardholder data in your database. There is a moment in time where it can pass through your database when you're entering it for the first time. So it doesn't completely remove you from the scope of PCI, but it does significantly reduce your overall compliance requirements. So tokenization comes with our merchant services where they are storing the encrypted cardholder data and you just have a random token in your database. Those are really the two main options that we would normally recommend. And the tokenization, as I said, would help keep you much more secure.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully that addresses the question.
And is there a limit to the number of users that can process credit card transactions?
No, that's another good question. So in our with our bundled pricing, we have some different packages available that are designed to just provide the features you need. They do come with unlimited users, unlimited merchant accounts if you are using our merchant service provider. So any of your NAV or Business Central users would have the ability to process credit cards, and you determine that based on setup who you are going to authorize to do that.
Okay, thank you. And how can we get a proposal for your merchant services?
Sure. So all you would need to do either request your partner to help you out, and we're happy to send you a link. You can also email us at sales@chargelogic.com and just request that you want to get a proposal for merchant services. We'll send you out a very short pre-application form, which is no obligation to get the account, but it would allow us to gather a little bit of business information, and you'd be contacted by one of our processing sales reps to go over a proposal with you.
Okay, great, thank you. And are there any fees for using the click-to-pay emailed invoicing service?
No, again, once you're using our merchant services, we provide those features for free. So the only fees that you would incur would just be whatever the standard transaction fees that you've negotiated with your payment processor.
Okay, thank you. And how about, do you have, let me rephrase that. Do we have to use your merchant services to get our processing account?
No, the answer to that is you don't. We do recommend it for, some of the reasons I mentioned, where we do have full visibility and you just have a single vendor to work with. But there are packages available to purchase that would allow you to use a different processor. It does have to be one that we are certified on, but that would allow you to use somebody else of your choice. And we always, ask that you at least give us the opportunity to give you a proposal or understand, what features that processor might be offering you that you are, want to make sure that you're able to get. But yes, we will support other processors.
Okay, thank you. And does Retail Express work with NAV or just Business Central?
Retail Express is available for NAV 2018 and forward and Business Central. It does require the web client for at least at the point of sale interface. But other than that, if you're on NAV 2018, you can use it.
Okay, thank you. And the last question that we have is, who do we contact if we want to get a quote for your software and services?
Great question. As I mentioned at the beginning of the session, we definitely would always encourage you to work through your partner. They know you best, they know your needs. So we're happy to help behind the scenes if necessary to help provide a quote. But we always recommend starting with reaching out to Innovia. They're very well versed on our solutions and can help you with that.
All right. Well, thank you, Deb, for the presentation, and thank you for everyone who has attended. Or if you are watching on demand, we thank you for joining us. And I just want to let you know that we do have a few more webinars coming soon. Tomorrow, the 30th of October, we have Holly Kudel from Innovia Consulting, and she's going to be presenting on workflows. And then next Tuesday, November 5th, if you can believe it's November already, we have E1 Solutions, and they're going to be presenting on to integrate your systems or not to integrate your systems. So check out our website for more of our upcoming events, and that's innovia.com/events. And we also want to mention that our podcast is going on. If you haven't heard of it before, it's called the Innovia Conversation. You can find out about all the different podcast platforms to listen to on our podcast page, and that's innovia.com/podcast. So check out the selection and subscribe so you'll get notified when the new episodes air. All right, well, we thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon on another Innovia webinar. Have a great day, everyone.
Great. Thanks.